My son told me I would be better, protected in a nursing facility, and that his tamily needed the bedroom I was using. I packed without arguing and quietly left. A few days later, when he realized I'd never intended to return, all the color drained from his face. For most of my life, I believed a mother earned her place in the family by continuing to be useful. I worked double shifts as a nurse in Columbus, Ohio. I packed lunches before sunrise, sat through freezing Saturday soccer games, and somehow stretched one income, far enough to raise three growing boys after my husband died. When the college bills arrived, I sold the last piece of farmland my father had left me. When my youngest son's first company failed, I co-signed the loan that gave him another chance. I never kept a record of what I sacrificed. That may have been my first mistake. By the time I turned 72, my sons had become successful men with demanding careers and impressive homes. David, my oldest, became an attorney. James owned several hardware stores. Ryan, the youngest, rose to become a technology executive whose photograph occasionally appeared in business magazines. During interviews, he often praised the people who had helped him succeed. He never mentioned me. For 2 years, I lived with David and his wife, Pamela, in their spacious suburban home outside Dublin, Ohio. They had insisted I move in after I sold my condominium. "You shouldn't be alone anymore, Mom," David told me. "This house belongs to you too." At first, I trusted him. My room was at the far end of the upstairs hallway. A photograph of my late husband rested on the dresser. A blue quilt covered the bed. A ceramic dish filled with peppermints sat near the lamp for my grandson Eli. Every Saturday morning, I made blueberry pancakes while the local news played softly in the background. Then the small changes began. The family started eating dinner without telling me. Elle's school events appeared on the refrigerator calendar only after they had already taken place. Pamela continued buying groceries for the family, but stopped asking whether I needed anything. David began speaking to me in an overly gentle tone, the voice people use when they have already made a decision and do not intend to allow discussion. One bitterly cold morning in February, I became dizzy while carrying a pot of chicken soup. The kitchen tilted. My knees gave way. The next thing I remembered was opening my eyes on the floor while Pamela spoke urgently to an emergency dispatcher. The hospital kept me for 2 nights because my blood pressure had climbed dangerously high. On the morning of my discharge, all 3 of my sons arrived together. That was when I knew they had already held the real conversation without me. "We've been talking," David began. "About my health?" I asked. Pamela leaned forward. "About what would be safest for everyone." Ryan opened a brochure for a senior living facility on his phone. The photographs showed smiling residents playing cards near a fireplace, strolling through landscaped gardens, and painting in a bright activity room. "It's one of the highest-rated facilities in the county," he explained. "Nurses are available around the clock." "I became dizzy once," I said. "The doctor said my medication only needs adjusting." No one answered. David sat beside me and covered my hand with his. "You have spent your whole life caring for everyone else," he said. "Maybe it's time to let someone take care of you." The words sounded thoughtful, almost loving. I searched their faces, waiting for one of them to say this was only a suggestion. No one did. Then Pamela added the part they had apparently hoped to avoid saying, "And honestly, we need the bedroom. David has been working from home more often, and the room downstairs is no longer suitable as an office." My bedroom? Not some unused space. The room containing my husband's photograph, my books, my quilt, and the final pieces of the life I once had. David squeezed my hand. "Please don't make this personal, Mom." Something inside me became protectively still. I did not cry. I did not remind them about the farmland I sold, the loans I guaranteed, or the years I spent ensuring none of my sons ever felt unwanted or burdensome. I simply nodded. "All right," I said. Relief crossed their faces so quickly that none of them managed to hide it completely. I returned to David's house that afternoon. By dinner, a measuring tape and an office furniture catalog were already spread across the kitchen island. The following morning, while the house was empty, I began packing. but not in the way they expected. I filled only one suitcase. I took my identification documents, journals, my husband's photograph, and a small locked metal box that had remained beneath my bed for more than 20 years. Everything else stayed behind. At 9 the next morning, a car pulled into the driveway. Pamela assumed it had been sent by the nursing facility. She was wrong. I placed my house key on the kitchen counter, carried my suitcase outside, and left before anyone awoke. 3 days passed before David finally entered the bedroom. The first thing he noticed was the empty space beneath the bed. The metal box was missing. Then he saw the envelope had left in its place. He opened it and read the first 2 lines. Slowly, he lowered himself onto the edge of the mattress. Pamela appeared in the doorway. "What is it?" she asked. David looked up at her. His face had turned completely pale. "Mom never checked into the nursing facility," he whispered, "and I think we've made a terrible mistake."